Hey, Ian Hartitz here. Here are my top 10 wide receiver plays of Week 16. Number 10, I have Tyreek Hill. Look, the targets have not really been there lately. He's been at 8, 8, and 7 over these past 3 weeks, but come on, we saw what can happen last week. Only takes one with Tyreek Hill. 2 touchdowns against a tough Broncos secondary. Going to Chicago, not ideal, but again, it's Tyreek Hill. Mahomes healthy. Tyreek Hill needs to be a wide receiver 1. Number 9, same game, Devontae Parker. He can go up over anyone, haul on touchdown. We know that. He has 5 games with at least 10 targets this season, so his ceiling is as high as any other receiver in the league. This is a sneaky shootout spot. I know it's Bengals-Dolphins, but 47.5-point game total. If your red zone switches over to it, don't be mad. Just embrace it. Number 8, I have Tyler Lockett. Week 15, he finally woke up, 120 yards and a touchdown. But even though he was playing hurt before, he still had a near every down snap rate. This is just part of the Tyler Lockett experience sometimes. Look, he's one of only 8 players averaging double-digit yards per target this season. We know how good he is, and he's going to avoid Patrick Peterson in the slot versus this mediocre Cardinals secondary. Number 7, I have Amari Cooper. He joins Tyler Lockett in that elusive double-digit yards per target club that only has 8 guys right now. He's faced Darius Slay, Stephon Gilmore, Tre'Davious White, Jalen Ramsey, and gone into Chicago over the last 5 weeks. Finally, Cooper gets a break against this Eagles secondary that he's roasted and pretty much every other number 1 wide receiver has over the past 18 months. Number 6, I have Keenan Allen. Since their Week 12 bye, he's only let 2 of 22 targets hit the ground. 9 catches for 99 yards in Week 15 were his highest total since Week 3. I think he tops them both versus an awful Raiders secondary. Number 5, I have DJ Moore. Yes, Will Grier is worrisome. With that said, Moore has overcome Kyle Allen all season, and that might even be harder to do. We don't know yet. So there is a scenario where we see the target distribution get shaken up, but DJ Moore has been a wide receiver 1 all season. Now is not the time to believe that won't continue. Number 4, I have Julian Edelman. Yes, it was a complete dud last week. It was also a game the Patriots really did not need to win and had no business putting Edelman on the field for unnecessary snaps. He previously had 8 straight games with double-digit targets, one of the highest floors in the league, and he's going to avoid stud Bills cornerback Tre'Davious White in the slot. Number 3, I have Julio Jones. Without Calvin Ridley, Jones got, count them, 20 targets. Absolutely ridiculous. He's probably going to be shadowed by A.J. Bouye, but as Boye has kind of experienced this year, matchups against Hopkins and Michael Thomas, you can slow down these beasts, but you can't always contain them or limit them. Keep treating Julio as a high-end wide receiver 1. Number 2, I have DeAndre Hopkins. Will Fuller's return last week caused Hopkins' targets to shrink a little bit, but with that said, set a season high for yards per target. Fuller helps increase the ceiling of this entire offense and does not hurt Hopkins. Now, facing the Buccaneers, the league's single worst overall secondary in PPR allowed to wide receivers, treat Hopkins as a top 2 option. Number 1, I have Michael Thomas. He's on pace for 152 catches. Marvin Harrison's record is 143. Matchups don't matter when you're best wide receiver in the league week in and week out. Nobody can guard Mike.
Hey friends, this is John Daigle, and these are my top 10 running backs for Week 16. Number 10, Marlon Mack. The Panthers have allowed the most rushing touchdowns and fantasy points per game to opposing running backs, putting Mack in a terrific spot at home, unlike Monday night's matchup on the road. Number 9, Leonard Fournette. Fournette's averaged 14.7 carries per game and 8 targets per game the past 3 weeks, despite being stuck in a 3-game scoring drought. You're going back to him for his workload alone against Atlanta's soft front 7. Number 8, Mark Ingram. The Ravens are favored by 10 points on the road as they still have to win to clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC. Ingram should play a vital role in burying the Browns on Sunday. Number 7, Nick Chubb. Chubb's averaged 19.3 carries and 100 rushing yards since Kareem Hunt rejoined the team in Week 10, making him a strong usage-based RB1 despite being in a nightmarish matchup against Baltimore. Number 6, Derrick Henry. Henry's ailing hamstring clearly slowed him down the past week, but he still received 21 carries in an important matchup. The Titans have to win out to make the playoffs, so expect them to continue leaning on Henry for at least 1 more week. Number 5, Joe Mixon. Mixon's averaged an insane 24 carries and 141 rushing yards in his last 2 games, and now gets a Dolphins defense that's allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Number 4, Saquon Barkley. Barkley's handled 86% of the Giants' offense snaps, 82% of their running back carries, and 100% of the team's backfield targets in his last 2 games. Note that Javorius Allen didn't touch the ball until the Giants led 30-13 on Sunday, keeping Barkley as an every down RB1 for Week 16. Number 3, Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott handled 27 touches before getting rested for most of the 4th quarter against the Rams. expect a similar workload in this must-win matchup to crown the NFC East champion. Number 2, Chris Carson. In Carson's first game without Rashad Penny on Sunday, he rushed 24 times for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns as a strong every down option. This Sunday against the Cardinals presents another soft matchup for Carson to thrive on every touch. Number 1, Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey averaged 8.3 targets per game from Kyle Allen, so there is a slight concern here for his ceiling from Will Grier moving forward. Having said that, he's still a bet-on-talent number 1 option as he needs only 388 yards from scrimmage to break Chris Johnson's single-season record of 25.09. Trust CMC on championship week.
Josh Norris here with the top 5 plays at quarterback ahead of Week 16. Let's start off with number 5. Yes, Jameis Winston going against the Houston Texans. Jameis has cleared 300 yards in 10 of his last 12 games. He truly is a one-of-a-kind player in that he turns the football over, even on his first drive consistently, yet has stretches of throws only a handful of quarterbacks can make across the league. The only question now he has to face is if he can do it without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Number 4, Patrick Mahomes against the Chicago Bears. The highest a quarterback has finished against the Bears this season is quarterback 12, and no passer has reached 20 points against them in a game this year. Well, I predict that ends this week with Mahomes, because if anyone's going to do it, Patrick Mahomes, who threw lasers last week in a blizzard, can absolutely do it. Number 3, Russell Wilson against the Arizona Cardinals. With 19.3 points last week, Wilson had his highest scoring game since Week 9. Here, I'm banking on an incredibly easy matchup against the Cardinals defense and the fact that the Seahawks are fighting for the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs. Number 2, Deshaun Watson at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the highest game total of the week, and the Bucs secondary, surprisingly, has actually improved in recent weeks, or the last 5. But we're talking about Deshaun Watson here with a healthy Will Fuller, a player whose volume and efficiency might not go up, but adds a totally different dynamic and big play ability to this offense. So Watson is a clear start against the Bucs. Number 1 is Lamar Jackson against the Cleveland Browns. Yes, Lamar Jackson is your fantasy MVP. He's your NFL MVP. And he's also coming off his 7th 30-point game of the season. He's had just 1 game of fewer than 20 fantasy points this season. He should absolutely demolish the Browns this weekend. Josh Norris here again with your top 5 tight end plays ahead of Week 16. Let's start at number 5. That's Mark Andrews against the Cleveland Browns. In some ways, Mark Andrews breaks conventional fantasy thinking because he doesn't play close to 100% of the snaps, yet he's uber productive on low volume. The volume does show up in critical places, however, and that's in the end zone. Andrews leads all tight ends in touchdowns this season with 8 and end zone targets with 10. Number 4, Darren Waller against the Los Angeles Chargers. Darren Waller has been outstanding over the last 3 weeks, 72 yards, 100 yards, and 122 yards. I know that Hunter Renfrow, the Raiders slot receiver, is likely back this week, but this isn't the type of player you just sit and bench in your fantasy football final. Number 3, Zach Ertz against the Dallas Cowboys. Ertz has double-digit targets in each of his past 5 games, and he's been a top 5 scoring tight end in all of those weeks. He really is the most dependable receiver in that Eagles offense, and he's going against a defense in the Cowboys that has definitely ridden their ups and downs this season. Number 2, George Kittle against the Los Angeles Rams. Kittle has been a tight end 1 in every game but 2 this year. He's coming off a career-high 17 targets and 13 receptions last week against the Falcons. And in his last 4 games against the Rams, Kittle's game-low receiving total is 98 yards. Yes, this is a certified smash spot. And number 1, Travis Kelce against the Chicago Bears. Since Mahomes returned to the lineup, Travis Kelce has averaged 7.4 receptions for 93 yards per game. He's an easy start as he and Tyreek Hill really do carry the Chiefs' receiving game.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.